gone into a preview on that, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the transfer portal and how the guys we've seen leave, and talk about them a little bit. So since we last spoke, we've had multiple guys enter the portal, probably most notably Devin Brown, and I quite frankly I was surprised Devin Brown stayed this year, knowing he wasn't going to start this year and probably wasn't going to start anytime in the future. But I definitely appreciate his mentality and his loyalty to Ohio State, because he loved it here, and he was a highly touted recruit. Like, he was a 5-star recruit in some services. So
on 3 had him as the number 1 overall recruit.
Yeah. So for him to stick to Ohio State and kind of want to win something here, I wholeheartedly support and I appreciate. So I'll definitely wish him luck wherever he ends up. I don't really see him ending up as a starter at a P4 program. Maybe you could talk me into a place like Purdue, someone on the lower scale of that, one of the worst teams, just because he doesn't have a whole lot of film out there for schools to really look at and evaluate. So,
and the film he does have isn't that impressive.
Yeah, his best game was the Purdue game last year where he ran for 2 touchdowns. That's probably it. So he's probably the most notable guy. What do you think about him leaving?
Well, first I want to commend him the same way I did for Julian Fleming last year. You stay the course. He's about to graduate from Ohio State. You are a Buckeye. For all this purposes, you are a Buckeye. He could have left. I have to imagine that last year people were calling his phone, asking him, asking how much. I have to imagine that was happening. But for him, it's not so much him transferring, because I expected him to do so this year after the season. But for him to say, I'm staying with my teammates, that I think is different than what we've seen from other people.
Yeah, I agree.
And because we've seen guys that are in the playoffs, on teams on the playoffs right now, that are transferring and not staying with the team. That's not the same case scenario. That's not Devin. He doesn't know if Ohio State's going to go win a national championship or not. He wants to stay on the team and be with his guys. So I really commend that.
What's interesting about that is, I 100% agree with everything you just said. What's interesting with the fact that he wants to stay through the college football playoff goes longer than the transfer portal is open. So the portal opens today, and I think it closes before the national championship game. So I think he would have to make a decision on that, before that would happen. And and winter term starts in January anyway, for a lot of schools. Yeah. So I'm not exactly sure what he would do in that scenario, but I do think it's very nice. It's very nice to see that he wants to stay and be a part of their run. And that also gives Ohio State some peace of mind, honestly, because they have nobody who's got experience behind Will Howard. Even Devin Brown's got limited experience, but at least he's a guy who's an upperclassman who has been the backup all year and been getting at least some reps in practice. So
if it came down to it, I would still want Julian. If Howard ever got hurt,
I tend to agree with you.
I would still prefer Stan come in before Brown.
I tend to agree with you, but I'm not sure the coaches do, just because they're, well, let me put it this way. If Will Howard goes down, they're done anyway. So that'd be a moot point. But he was
maybe.
I think they'd be done.
What would you do though? Let me ask you a question real quick. Just in a crazy universe somewhere else, how would you feel if Ohio State won a game in a fashion where Julian Sand came in and did what Dwayne Haskins did?
I say pull a Dwayne. Yeah. That'd certainly be great. But people forget that Dwayne only had to throw 2 passes in that game because JT came back in.
Bro, I knew at the 2 passes he was better than JT.
I don't know about that.
I stand by that. He was always better. Ryan, you might not know this about me. I hate JT Barrett. You don't know that about me.
I don't know that about you, but you're not. I know you're not the only person in the fan base to think that. I think JT's criminally underrated. I think he did a lot of good things for this program. And his freshman season, people forget he was going to be a Heisman Finals until he broke his leg. against Michigan. Like
He's a
he
trust
was
fund
that
kid,
good.
bro. He's a trust fund kid. Anybody could have
Oh
done
my
well with that offense. Anybody.
No, he was good. That Penn State game still is one of the all-time great performances an Ohio State quarterback has ever
It is.
had.
It is.
So
how many passes did he hit? Like that second half
hit
of
like
fourth quarter, he went
17 in a row. It was unreal.
Yeah.
But as far as if Julian had to come in, and do something like that, I mean, I would love it. Don't get me wrong. Do I think that would happen? No, I do not.
Mm-hmm.
But so Devin Brown wasn't the only person to. Good. You're finally admitting that. He wasn't short. You're right, Bert. So obviously Devin wasn't the only person to enter the portal.
Yep.
Had a couple other guys go. Most recently, they had Miles Walker, offensive lineman, enter into. And, some of these guys that are leaving, I wouldn't say they are huge parts of the team, but you don't want to see offensive linemen enter the portal when this team is already so banged up front and their depth is as bad as it is. And personally, and I want to hear your thoughts, I think this is an indictment on Justin Fry and his ability to recruit and develop kids because they have an issue with their depth. They're already having to reshuffle their offensive line again for this game against Tennessee. And they've got guys who, Walker was a 3-star recruit when he came in. No one really expected
him. He was
him
never going to play, bro.
Too much. No, he was never going to play, but that's my problem. Justin Fry is recruiting guys who are never going to play. You got to get some higher rated kids in here on the offensive line.
Well, I don't even think you need a higher rated guy. Like, all right, I would be perfectly fine if Justin Fry went after 6 or 5 or 4 Ohio 3-star kids, held 2 stars, and brought them in. Let me tell you why. This isn't quarterback. This isn't wide receiver. This isn't corner. This is offensive line is not an easy position to play. It is not. But it is a position that if you can get these guys and coach them well, they can be as good as anybody else, or at least damn near. And I personally
he can't coach well.
Maybe he can't. Well, maybe he can't. But the truth of the matter is, bro, we've seen 2 of his linemen. We saw 2 of his linemen who were his best offensive linemen at center and left tackle go out. And I'm not an apology for it. I hate him. I can't stand him. But I have to give him credit for in the times right after Ohio State had these injuries, he got it together. We have to give him that credit. And so the depth that is on him. That is on him, and not bringing in more guys. I would actually also want to know how many, because you have a limit to how many guys you can bring in. I want to know what numbers they tell him and how many he can bring in.
At this point, with the class misses that they've had and with as few numbers as they've brought in, that number can't be high enough. I mean, there's got to be a time where bring in 6 guys. Like, I don't care. I mean, you hear reports now the Buckeyes are going to have to go into the portal, and they're looking at 4 or 5 guys in the portal of the offensive line. Oh, sure. My point is you shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to develop and recruit highly rated Ohio State kids. I don't mind going in there, getting 1 or 2 guys to come in to help shore up depth if you have a couple misses, or there's a really good tackle who all of a sudden enters in the portal you weren't expecting. He was a starter level guy. Yeah, let's obviously go after him. But there's under no circumstances should a program with as many resources as Ohio State has, should they need to go and try to replace 4 or 5 offensive linemen in the transfer portal? That's insane.
Well, I don't think you're replacing them. I think you're understanding what you have, and also remember
that's my point.
The offensive depth chart is very young. The offensive line depth chart is pretty young. There's a lot of sophomores, a lot of redshirt and freshmen. So there's also that, but it's no different from whenever else do. I don't think Ohio State would bring in 4 or 5 linemen. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to try and bring in 2 or 3. But it's no different from what everyone else is doing around the nation with their other positions. Other people do this at other positions. They bring in 2 or 3 guys. So I don't. Yeah, it doesn't feel good to be Ohio State and have to look at offensive linemen. I get that we believe we should be good at every single position. That's just not the truth. That's just not what it is. And what it is right now is that Ohio State has an offensive line problem. We have a Justin Fry problem, even though I do give him credit for this year. But yeah, actually, yeah, it's a Justin Fry problem. Because to be honest, here in my lifetime, I've never seen Ohio State really struggle with offensive lines. I mean, even what two? I mean, all the offensive linemen from 2021 were really good. But I mean, we were starting 4 tackles, which is stupid to me. You never start 4 tackles.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not a fun scenario, but I think it just is what it is. And if you can go out there and get 2 or 3 really good offensive linemen, I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. As far as 2 or 3 offensive linemen, it just once the reports go to 4 or 5 offensive linemen, you're whoa, what? Why do you need that many guys? Like you missed on that many guys.
Maybe hey. Well, I mean, we're gonna talk about other guys that went to the portal and at a Heartline's position group.